Hello. Today we're going to look at real relationships, the triangle of love, and the triangle area we're going to look at today is harmony, to be harmonious with each other. Harmony is very underrated. Harmony is really important in relationships because without harmony, there's discord. And when you have discord, everything starts falling apart and we're not being our best selves. Harmony usually exists at the beginning when you first meet. It can be quite harmonious because you're just so crazy in love with each other and trying to please each other and do everything to look nice and go out and do nice things for one another and be very loving. And that love you feel for each other and the chemistry creates like a harmony between you. You're trying to get on, you're not trying to have any fights or big fights about things. You might not agree about everything, but you do it in a really nice way and you're mindful of the other person and kind of polite, I suppose. However, as we get into the relationship and get deeper into it, things can become quite unharmonious. I don't know if there's a word like that, but disharmony, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for. The harmony starts to peter out. Now, this can happen in the internal relationship that you start not actually getting on with each other. However, it can also happen externally. If you're living in an environment which is not harmonious, perhaps there's problems with your family or your children, and particularly if you're bringing in extra people into your life that you didn't have before. So you've got different families now and the work situation, and even your actual environment where you're actually living. If you don't really like where you live, that's going to create a lot of disharmony, and that will affect your relationships. You've got like internal harmony you're trying to create, and then external harmony. If you can create internal harmony between the two of you, the external will be easier to deal with because you'll actually both be all right as a couple. And that's what you want to aim for, to always keep coming back to the harmony between each other. Harmony doesn't mean that we're the same. We can be quite different, and in some areas we can be compatible. In other areas we won't be compatible, but there can still be harmony because there's that give and take of the differences between us. And when we are open to the differences and tolerant of each other's differences and the parts that we're not really compatible, and we find a way around that, we keep the harmony and we create the harmony in our relationship. However, once we've been together for a while, we can start to not be as careful around this area, I think. We tend to take things for granted. We're with the person, we love them, the chemistry part's doing really well. But now you're just starting to fight a lot, and you'll find that disharmony starts showing itself in really little things, little irritations, little annoyances, little picking. You start picking on each other, you start being kind of negative about stuff. And then you'll notice that it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you become to a place where you can't even be together and be harmonious with each other. The actual relationships now are really changing and it's starting to tip, and you really need to try and get back to harmony. Harmony is also about our environment. If we're living in a very chaotic environment and the energy is not good and it's very dark or negative around you, you'll find that you will become affected by this. And you really need to try to come back to each other all the time and keep recreating the harmony between each other. Because you love each other and you have this beautiful chemistry, and you need to keep the balance of the harmony. It's important that you speak to each other in a good way, because if you start speaking badly to each other or swearing at each other, saying nasty things and being mean to one another and not being loving, you'll find the harmony just falls away. There's no harmony in fighting. There's no harmony in someone being nasty to you. This does not create harmony, so watch what you say. And our actions also do that, sulking, giving them the look, giving the big sigh, oh yeah, whatever. That does not create harmony, and you need to cut all those things back and focus on the good things in your relationship, the things that are working. You can work on the other things as well, of course you can, because all relationships are like a work in progress. However, if you start to now focusing on the negative or the things that aren't going right, start to be pessimistic and start to make lots of little fights all the time, little disagreements, you're going to actually tip this one over. This part of your triangle, you're going to tip it over. So you need to bring it back. Start to focus on the positive. Start to say nice things to each other. Start to treat each other in loving ways and try to not fight. The fighting is usually frustration because you don't feel the other person's really hearing you. That's why we fight, and that's why we raise our voice, actually, because we think they're not hearing us. They actually are hearing us. We think if we talk louder, they'll hear us better, but they don't. In many ways, the more loud we are, the more we can actually, people will switch out to us. It's important you just sit down quietly in a quiet moment and talk about it and try not to get heated and try and say, well, how is it for you and how do you feel about that? And let me see if I understand this well. And I always find that paraphrasing is good. So the person tells you something, so you say back to them, so you're saying this, and then they say yes, or they say no, that's not what I mean. It's miscommunication that will create a lot of disharmony to relationships when people decide they think they know what you've said, but you hadn't actually meant it that way. Harmony can be our environment. Try and keep the environment calm and peaceful. Play I call it the woo-woo music, which is that nice ambient kind of music that keeps the house feeling nice, or happy music. Burn your oils. Keep the place tidy to your level of tidiness. Keep the area feeling nice and clean and well cared for. Have beautiful things around you and create beautiful things in your area. For example, a nice dinner and set the table, make it lovely, a barbecue outside, sit outside with the candles, put the beautiful music on. Whatever you need to do to make it feel peaceful, like a sanctuary. That's because you want to create a harmonious sanctuary between you, but you also want to create a harmonious sanctuary around you. So if the kids have gone to bed and it's all quiet, go and sit outside and put some candles out there, have some music playing, have a glass of wine, with some nice tea and biscuits, and sit in the quiet and the peace and the harmony. The harmony in the relationship is also a good place to keep coming back to when there's things, especially externally, happening that are not creating harmony. And this can be often other people or other situations that are occurring around you. And this is why it's more important to keep coming back to the two of you, because if you two are still harmonious, it doesn't really matter what's happening outside of you. It won't break your relationship. It won't break you. Some people around you will try and mess things up, break things up, and this can be a family or children, people at work even, friends sometimes, and you need to make boundaries there. So if you've got people who are messing things up around you, see them less, limit your time with them, limit how physically close you are to them as well. Instead of seeing them, ring them and text them, get a bit of space from them. And anyone who's having major dramas, you can support people, but just don't get in the middle of all the dramas, because that's going to make you unstable a little bit, and you'll bring that home. So it's important that people are supported, but you don't end up carrying everyone, and then you don't have any energy for your relationship, and you come back into the relationship really messy and makes disharmony between the two of you. The other thing is to create harmony, you need to make decisions that are harmonious. For example, if you can't agree, you might need to agree to disagree on that subject and just not keep bringing it up, because you're not going to agree about it. You've got completely different views on it. You accept that and you be tolerant, but you don't just keep fighting about that subject. Find a place where you can sit with it. The other thing is, to create harmony, you also need to talk in that way. Keep your conversations harmonious and keep them on good subjects. don't get into the doom and gloom too much, because that's not going to create harmony, is it? And if you need to discuss things and you can't do it in a calm and harmonious way, that might be a good time to go and seek help, professional help. So you've got someone who's a mediator between you and then your partner, and then you can find a harmonious solution. Because harmony is all about solutions, peaceful solutions, happy solutions. And this part of the relationship is very, very important because it'll actually stabilize the other two parts. So if you're having trouble in the other two parts, but you're really quite good friends and you get on quite harmoniously and you can live happily together, that's going to actually shore up the other two parts of the triangle. The harmony can be created, and you can create it, and the disharmony can be negated by not feeding it. Don't feed it. If you're angry, do not discuss it right now. Just calm down, cool down, and when you're feeling calm and better, then deal with things. That's going to make a more harmonious relationship. It's not important always to go in there fighting just to fix it up right now. Sometimes fixing up is walking away, getting some space, calming down, and then coming back in so you can do it in a nice way. So I encourage you to keep the harmony flowing between the two of you, and then try and make your environment more harmonious, whatever that means for you, and keep away from people who are creating disharmony around you. Don't have them so much in your life to the point that they can upset your life, and make some boundaries. Because if you've got a mum who's making a lot of disharmony and your mum's upsetting everything in the family and you keep bringing that into your partnership, that's going to create disharmony in your partnership. So make some boundaries with some people and work. You need to learn how to make these boundaries so it doesn't flow into your relationship and wreck it. So enjoy the harmony that you have together. Harmony is quite beautiful to have together. It's kind of peaceful. It's like being in a really nice, safe place together. And you can create it every day and all day, and you can work on it and make it your place where you go, like your happy place that you go with your partner. I always call it the happy place. Find your happy, harmonious place and work on it and keep it thriving. And I'm sending you lots of love this week for your relationship and lots of harmony.